Okay, so one of the things that has changed the most about me since staying home is I really, really hate to waste food. Probably the most money that you spend outside of your bills and stuff is on food. And I realized that a lot of what my personal paycheck was going for whenever I was staying at home, or when I was working, I'm sorry, was we were going out to eat a lot more. We were doing a lot more things on entertainment, and then we would go to the grocery store and just buy a whole bunch of snacks, and then they would expire, and we just wasted so much. And so one of the things that I've learned a lot in this 6 months of staying home so far is just not to waste as much. And so, like yesterday, my grandmother, she gave me probably like 10 or 15 apples that were starting to go bad. They had a couple of bruised spots, and so she sent them home with me, and I made some applesauce with it. So I just cut out the bad spots, cut them up, and then I like processed them in the food processor, and then I canned them. I tried my hand out at canning. I found a plastic canner at a Goodwill a couple of weeks ago. So I did make 2 jars of applesauce. I left the skins on for vitamins and stuff, and then I made some homemade barbecue sauce out of ketchup and molasses and some other things that I had in my pantry. So anyway, I made a little mini round of canning yesterday, and I used up some things that would have gone bad otherwise. I hope to be starting my first ever garden this year, so if all goes as planned, I'll be showing you guys how to make a garden. I'm planning on doing a square foot garden, so I'll show you how I do that, what I plant, etc. And if things actually grow, I'll show you what I do for canning things and stuff like that, which I'm a noob at all that as well, so we can definitely learn all of this together, and I definitely want to hear your gardening tips if you have some. Our house, it doesn't have very good soil. Everything in our yard is pretty much like red dirt, so that's why we're going to do like the square foot garden, so we can add our own dirt, and hopefully we'll have some productive crops that come out. Plus, our yard is not very big. We don't live like on a farm or out in the country or anything, so we don't have a huge space to garden, so a little small area garden will be very helpful for us, I think. But what I'm about to show you guys to do, going back to the I hate to waste food thing, is we're going to make some oatmeal cookies out of oatmeal packets. As most people, I really do like pumpkin spice things in the fall. And so I bought some pumpkin spice flavored oatmeal packets, but I really didn't like them. So I found a recipe of how you can use oatmeal packets to make oatmeal cookies. And since I really don't like to waste things, and my little boy loves cookies and he loves raisins, I thought I would make some oatmeal cookies using the packets. So I'm going to show you what I am going to do. I got the recipe from food.com, but I will walk you through it and show you what I have. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to need is the oatmeal packets. And like I said before, I bought some pumpkin spice packets, and I just really didn't like them. And then I had apple and cinnamon. I really only like the maple and brown sugar oatmeal, so I really don't know why I buy other kinds. But you need 6 packets to make this batch of cookies. So I'm just going to start opening and pouring out all of the oatmeal into a big bowl. The recipe says that you can use all of one flavor, or you can do different combinations. I only had 4 of the pumpkin spice left, and then I had 2 of the apple. So I'm going to be using 2 apples and 4 pumpkin spice. You also need to go ahead and preheat your oven to 350, and then I'm just going to start adding the other ingredients. The recipe calls for different measuring cups and stuff, but I hate doing dishes, so I'm just going to use a 1/4 cup measuring cup for the whole thing. The first thing says that you're supposed to put a 1/2 cup of butter, so obviously I'm just going to do 2 of these, and yes, I just go ahead and use my fingers. I wash my hands constantly when I'm cooking because I'm so afraid of food poisoning and things like that. Sorry for the noise in the background. The little boy's watching cartoons and playing with dump trucks while I'm doing this. But anyway, you put a half a cup of butter, and I just use Country Crock Light, but again, it's just whatever you have, because the whole point of not spending much money and not wasting what you have is to not go out and buy a whole bunch of stuff that you won't ever use again. Most of this stuff, well, all of this stuff I already had on hand anyway, and so it doesn't really cost me much of anything to make it. You're also going to use 1/4 cup of sugar. So I'm going to pour that in. I got this sugar the other day at the Dollar Tree. I was out. I usually buy the whole big tub, but I just needed sugar and they didn't have the big bag of it, so I just bought the little box. You're also going to use 1/2 cup of brown sugar. I had light brown sugar on hand, so that's what I'm going to be using. So again, I'll just do 2 of these little 1/4 cups of the brown sugar. I don't know about y'all, but I always have trouble getting the brown sugar into the thing. So I end up just kind of reaching my hand in the bag and pulling out the clumps like that, and then just smushing it in. So that's about, you know, 1/4 cup. So I need to do 1 more of those. I'm going to grab another clump. Just shove into this thing a little bit more. And I don't think these measurements have to be exactly precise, you know. Then you're going to do a teaspoon of cinnamon. I just have a small thing of cinnamon because we really don't use a whole lot of cinnamon in our house. Just a dash every now and then. So I'm going to use 1 teaspoon. And also I'm going to be using my teaspoon for like all the small measurements in this thing. There's also a teaspoon of vanilla extract. Put that in. And then a teaspoon of honey. I got this honey, our Winn-Dixie just went out of business, and so it says $3.89, but I really only paid like 75 cents for it or something like that. And I don't even really know what Acadiana, I don't even know if I'm saying that right, but I have no idea what kind of honey that is, but it was less than $1, and honey's usually typically pretty expensive, so I got that. Then a tablespoon of milk, which a tablespoon is 3 teaspoons. Quick tip, if you have a Costco in your area, which we just recently got a Costco in our area, but their skim milk, which is what we drink, is $1.99. I have not seen a gallon of milk that cheap anywhere. Like at our Walmart, it's probably like $3.85 to $4 for a gallon of milk. So whenever I go to Costco, it's about 30 minutes away from where I live, but every time I go, I buy like several gallons and just freeze the rest, because you cannot beat $1.99 for milk. You're also going to put 1 egg. I've noticed like Costco is really cheap for like dairy products. We also have a Sam's half hour the other way, and they're better for like meats and stuff, but Costco is good for dairy and like paper products. You're also going to use 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder and 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. So I do need to go grab another spoon real quick. Okay, I'm back. And as I said before, I really hate using a lot of dishes, so I use the small amount as possible. So I just grabbed 1/4 teaspoon this time, because you're going to need 1/4 teaspoon of the baking powder. And you're also going to need 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. So that'll be 2 of these little spoons. I use a lot of baking soda anyway. I usually keep a box in the laundry room and a box in the kitchen. I use it a lot for stain removers and things like that. And then you're also going to need a cup of flour. So I'm going to fill it in a little 1/4 cup 4 times. The reason this flour is kind of like a little bit odd color, when the Winn-Dixie was going out of business, they had the King something flour that's usually pretty expensive, but they had the whole wheat version there, so I bought a bag of that, and then I store my things in these little tubs so that you don't have as much room taken up in your pantry. And then you're going to do a half a cup of raisins, but all I have for raisins are these little Great Value little boxes, buttered down on this one. So I'm just going to fill up my little cup with the raisins twice until I get half a cup. So actually one equals about a quarter a cup, so I'm just going to put 2 boxes. Sorry. Knocked the camera a little bit. This is my first time ever using my tripod, so I really am kind of a noob. So I'm sorry if the angle and all of that kind of stuff is awful. I'm really not sure how many cookies this is going to make. I guess we'll see, but it looks like it'll make a pretty good mini. So I'm just going to stir it up real good, and whenever I get it all combined, I'll come back and we'll see how many cookies it will make. So it's finally combined. It took a little while to get all of the butter and everything combined, but I think it looks pretty good to start dolloping out into cookie balls. First, I wanted to preface this all by saying I think this is probably the first time I've ever made oatmeal cookies, because I don't usually buy that giant container of oats, simply because whenever I eat oatmeal, I just really like it to have all of that stuff in it. And I know you can add it and all that, but I know I just kind of like the convenience of the little packets, so I typically have the packets, but I don't ever have that tub. So I'm hoping this will work in case there ever are any flavors, like maybe in a variety pack that I don't like or whatever. So also wanted to apologize for this video. I know it's probably kind of boring, and I promise you as I go, I hope to get better. This is just kind of like my first little recipe video, and I was reading the recipe as I was making this, so hopefully I'll be a lot more interesting in further videos. So I'm going to put these out on the pan and see how many cookies we can make, and then we're going to pop them in the oven. So I'll be right. So this recipe made a ton of cookies. There's 15 on that tray and 12 on that tray, so that's 27 cookies. Hey, you want cookies? Yeah, we're making cookies. So it made enough for 27 cookies. So I'm going to pop them in the oven for 8 to 10 minutes. And then we will see what we have. And then we'll feed this angry baby boy. Okay, I just took the cookies out of the oven. As I said before, it's 350 for 8 to 10 minutes. I did 10 minutes because my oven doesn't cook always the best. So I did 10 minutes. I'm going to let these things cool and then we'll try them. I guess I should also say why I think I would like them better as a cookie instead of oatmeal. And I figure because I'm adding sugar and flour and raisins and other types of oatmeal that I would probably like it better like that than as just pumpkin spice oatmeal. So we'll let them cool and then we'll try them. Do you want a cookie? You want a cookie? Try it. Can you take a bite? Hey. Hey, try your cookie. Does that mean it's good? Is it good? Yeah? Good.